Okay, welcome everyone to the Pro Trade Room Plus and the 7-year auction. My name is Lee Goldstein, the trading director for 10 Minute Trades. Please remember that all the trades that we discuss are for educational purposes. It is possible to lose money trading futures. I am not a financial advisor, so please trade carefully. Okay, everybody, let's get set up. And we are streaming on YouTube, so hello to all of our friends on YouTube. Let's see if this webcam is able to be seen. I'm not sure if it could be seen over there. Let's leave it over here where I know it can be seen. I broke my monitor. I don't know if you can see this line going through the monitor, but fortunately I broke the monitor that I'm replacing. So tomorrow I'll have my new monitor. That's a plus. And we've got the 7-year auction. We'll take a look at the DMM. I just want to set the news up so we're ready. And then we will be back in the room at 1:30 for the ever exciting Beige Book. So that should be kind of interesting. We'll see if the Beige Book has anything going on that can generate some trades. So it should be interesting. So right now we've got the 7-year auction. I'm just going to integrate investing.com into my charts. What happens is if I'm spending the morning looking at Microsoft News, sometimes it screws up the way that I use this chart. But as you can see, this is all I do. I just take the website investing.com and I make it a part of my charts just by inserting it so that we can see the news result. And it's really convenient. It's great because down here we will know um, what the news result on the 7-year auction is. If there's a forecast, it usually helps more. I don't think we get too many forecasts on the bond auctions. Anyway, let's get started. Take a look at the DMM. We have two setups that we use for this particular event. So can you all hear me okay? And can you see everything? Let me know. Give me a heads up because I'm not seeing any chat whatsoever. So just give me a heads up in the trade room. Okay, good, good, good. For some reason, the software cleared all the chat. Not sure why it did it this time of day, but it doesn't matter. And Scott, I'm going to try when I set up the trade, I'm going to go through every line item unless you tell me that you got things working. Let me know if you got things working or if you're still struggling out there a little bit. First thing we're going to do is look at the DMM. Let's see what's been going on the 7-year auction. What's been going on? So you could see that the 7-year auction has not been moving all that well on bonds. All right. And it was a cancel in April. It was a tiny winner in March. When you have a 5 tick move, that means there's very little profit to get from that reaction. We need 7, 8, definitely better than 5 ticks. I'm just curious. I don't think anyone can see if I move that webcam. Anyway, we had 9 ticks in November, 14 ticks in October. The past 4 months have not been great on this report. That's the reality. Has not been great. We trading bonds. We have a secondary setup using the YM, and I like that setup actually better than using the bonds on this report because this report, like we said, has not been behaving very well. So the YM setup is clicking on strategies, and then make sure you're on breakout trade. We're going to activate this event at 13:01:30 Eastern Time. 13:01:30. Okay. 13:01:30 Eastern Time. Our bracket is 3. Our position size, that means how many contracts are you going to trade. We've got one position and one target. So position size 1 is a 1. Profit target 1 is 2 ticks. Position size 2 means we're adding a second contract. That means we need a second target, and that second target is 6 ticks. Position size 3 is 0. Profit target 3 is 0. Target 1 stop move. Now, let me backtrack because this is the YM, all right? Our bracket is 8. This is my YM chart. My first target is I'm going to do 8 on my first target, and my second target is 20. And then our stop is 15. This is the YM setup. That's why it's a little bit bigger. Target 1 stop move is going to be break even BE minus 3. That means the stop is going to move to break even minus 3 ticks using entry as our minus 3. Wherever you get entered, it's going to be 3 ticks below that or above it. That's where the stop's going to move if we hit the first target. Our stop is 15 ticks. There is 0 on target 2 stop mode move. Trailing is off. Trailing stop method doesn't matter because trailing's off. Fixed distance doesn't matter. Trailing is off. Anything to do with trailing doesn't matter. And then the next 4 items are zeros. We're not using it. All right. Unattended is unchecked. The mode has to be strategy internal. This is the YM part of the trade. The YM part of the trade. All right. Strategy mode. Strategy internal is the mode. There is no ATM strategy. It says enter name. Nothing is there. Enter ATM strategy name. I'm just going through all the settings so Scott could see why his system may not be working. Direction should be both. Auto disable after trade is not checked. Show the vertical line. That shows the line, the up and down line, when the trade gets filled. If you don't want that line to show, you can uncheck it. Enter canceled if gapped, we never use, unchecked. Slippage ticks are 0, we don't use it. Limit orders we're not using, unchecked. Shutdown should be checked. All right. Zeros on the manual reverse breakout. Most things are default, meaning they don't get changed. They stay the way they are when you first loaded the software. The input series should match the chart that you're trading. If you're trading copper, then the input series would be the instrument that you're trading and the proper time of the chart. Should match, for us, it's going to match the YM because that's the chart I'm setting this up on. YM 0624, and it's a 1-minute chart. The account should be whatever account you're trading. It might be your live account. It could be your prop account. Right now I'm on Sim. All right. Calculate on each tick. That's default. Label. I always label every trade. This is the YM part of the trade. Okay. YM part of the trade. Scott, it makes no difference. The only difference are the numbers in the targets and the bracket. It's not going to change anything about whether or not it would work. Okay. We have 2 setups, YM and ZB. For beginners, you should only be on sim anyway. So it's for a beginner to trade two setups is probably not reasonable. So pick one or the other. I would pick the YM. I would trade the YM setup because it's been working better than the bonds. So I'm labeling it YM, maximum bars to look back. 256 is default. Bars required to trade 20 is default. Start behavior, wait until flat is default, no change. Enabled, we do that outside of the software, that's unchecked. Order fill, standard fastest is default. Fill limit is unchecked. Slippage is 0. Everything else is default, not changed. GTC per entry execution. Okay, nothing else has to be done except when you're finished so that the trade gets set up. You press enable, you press apply, and OK. Then everything we just did will be on the control panel. It'll be a trade ready to go, but you must make sure that you are on the strategy tab. You must be on the strategy tab, okay? If you're on the account tab, you'll just see your accounts. If you're on the strategy tab, you'll see the trade we just set up. And then if you want to get it so that the trade fires off, you have to click the enabled button and check it. That way, at 101 and 30 seconds, our orders will show up on the chart for the YM. That's the trade completely set up for the YM. Now I'm going to just go through the basic ones that we need one more time right now because we're going to test the width of our brackets to make sure we can manage the trade. So I'm going to right click the chart, uncheck the enabled box.
So the Fed bids for 7-year notes
right-click
totaling
my chart.
$2.6 billion.
Click on strategies. I've already got one. JOBB, I'm going to make sure that's highlighted. A breakout trade, 1301.30. The bracket is 8. One target, position size 1 is a 1. Position size 2 is a 1. I have a target of 8 for profit target 1. Target of 20 for profit target 2. Target 1 stop move is break even minus 3. The stop is 15. Everything else is default down there. Going to slide down to the account. Sim for now. Label YM. And now what I'm going to do is put my time on 0 so I can test the brackets. Apply it and OK it. So now make sure you're on sim. When you enable and time is 0, it should put the brackets on the screen.
Order submitted.
There's my brackets because my time is 0. The software thinks the time has already passed. That bracket width is wide enough so I can manage this trade. If they were all scrunched together, you wouldn't be able to manage the trade. So I'm making it so that there's enough width so I can manage the trade. Now I'm going to disable. I'm going to put my time back to 1301.30 on the YM, and I'm going to choose the account that I'm trading this in. And I'm going to trade this in my cash account. So I'm choosing the cash account, apply it, OK it. Make sure that on the chart trader, the account matches my cash account. All right. And now I'm ready. I'm going to enable the trade, and that trade is ready to go. When the clock reaches 1301.30, then my trade is going to trigger. Now, we always go to the website time.is to check that our computer is in sync. When you go to that website, time.is, it'll tell you if your computer is in sync. My computer right now is in sync. And I also have a second setup, the bond setup. ZB 924 is the instrument to trade. I'm going to right click the chart and click on strategies. Click on JOBB version 10. You're going to see it's a breakout trade. It's going to be 1301.30. This is the bond setup. 1301.30, we've got a bracket of 3. Position size 1 is a 1. Position size 2 is a 1. Profit target 1 is 2 ticks. Profit target 2 is 6 ticks. The stop is 3 ticks. Then I'm going to scroll down to the label, and I'm going to label it bonds or ZB, whatever you want to label it, so it's different than the YM. Now, when we look at the way this has been trading with bonds, we've only got 1 out of 4 winners. 2 out of the 4 winners were barely enough of a move to even give us a profit. So I'm just going to sim the bonds. I'm not that interested in trading this report today because it's really not behaving well. Okay? We need this report to start proving itself again. I'll take the YM risk, but I'm not going to trade both because bonds have been doing rather poorly on this report. So I'm just going to use the sim account. And it's set to sim as it is now. I'm still going to check my brackets by making the time 0 so that I can check the bracket width. Remember, when you enable with 0 time, you do have to wait for there to be price movement. If there's no price
Order
movement,
submitted.
see, I had to wait for the price to move. I like that width, so I'm going to uncheck the
Order
X,
canceled.
disable my trade so I can put the time in correctly. All right.
So in terms of
1301.30.
time now, at the top of the hour, headline event for the day is the US selling 44.
1301.30. It has not been performing very well with bonds, the 7-year. Most of the other auctions have been decent. Not great, but they've been tradable. Now, I could, if I wanted, I could trade this in my Top Step account. But again, it's a 1 out of 4 for the last 4 months. You don't have to trade an event that isn't performing really well.
Again, at around 11 basis points.
You can bypass it. There's no law that says you've got to take the risk. We don't trade every report. We trade the reports that we believe are going to give us the best opportunity for profit. Okay?
To the current negative
If
5 basis points.
If most of the months looked like October,
so JP Morgan strategists see the auction as requiring.
Here's a video of our October trade.
Level, citing the auction sector appearing somewhat rich along the curve. Also,
I'm just fast forwarding to the time of the event.
Which shows that speculators were net short.
If I'm on the right video here, October 26th, my orders. We put our orders on the chart. 1301.30, just like we're doing today. It might take 15, 20, 30 seconds for a fill. You could see nothing was going on. at the moment. $30, no trade yet. We do have a cancellation rule. We got filled. Price pushed up. Now, I know this event pretty well. It hit our first target, and that was all I was trading. I was just trading one contract. So it hit my first target for a couple of ticks. And then it did continue up. If you had two targets, you could have gotten both your targets hit. Then in November, it also had a fairly decent move in November. And we got streaming upon streaming, webcams upon webcams, I should say. November. Sometimes it could take 20, 30 seconds before the market responds to the auction. The auction actually takes place at 1 p.m. The market usually doesn't respond for a minute and a half. It's strange. It's just the way it is. And Terrence, thanks for letting me know that you can see me. That helps. So there's a burst to the downside. I could see that there's a couple of ticks of slippage. It's very tough to get profit out of the bonds on this report unless you get a nice 8, 10, 14, 15 tick move. We did get a total of 3 ticks in November. So bonds, again, they have not been rewarding us. I'll trade the YM for cash money on the left. Bonds are on the right. They're simulated, okay? And that's what we got going on right now. You could see the YM is having a pretty negative day. It's down over 300 points. Very negative day on the YM. And on bonds, I'm on the market. The markets are down. Markets are definitely volatile, challenging to trade without a doubt.
So just less than 5 minutes now until the top of the hour.
So
for
we've
the
got
Aussie
about
to sell
we got 5
$44
minutes,
7-year notes.
5.5
The
minutes
cover was 2.48,
until
the
our
high yield was
brackets will show up on the
4.71%.
chart. At 13:01:30, 1:01:30 Eastern Time, our orders will show up on the charts. Now, there is a part of me that really struggles with not trading the bonds with either my Top Step account or with cash, because for me personally, there's nothing I hate more than missing a trade. Now, I do put a lot of meaning in the DMM, and that when a report is not performing well, not a good move at all in April, a tiny winner, 5 ticks is not a very good winner in March. Let's see what that video in March looked like with that 5 tick. That doesn't even mean that I was able to get a profit in the trade room. That's an analysis report. And sometimes that analysis can be different than the actual trade, especially when the profits are the moves are so small. So here's March, 13:01:30. We put our orders on the chart. Now, look, the reality is some days the trades that we're trading are a little bit unusual. They're not monster trades. Now, what happened in this event, it's hard to see it, but there was a liquidity problem because the bonds blasted through both our targets, but did not fill us because of liquidity. And that sometimes happens with these bond reports. In theory, had there been thick liquidity, we should have been filled on both targets. We didn't get filled on either one. And that made it very difficult to get a profit on that trade. And that's one of the challenges that we sometimes see on the report. Now, I do want to stand corrected. That was the YM side of the report. The YM had poor liquidity. The bonds, I apologize, are on the right. And you could see it's a very small move on the right, and it did not get to the first target. And it did not give us a profit because of that. There was at least one tick of slippage, but it didn't go far enough to hit our targets. That's why you need more than a 3 to 5 tick move. Remember, we have a bracket of 3. If all you get is a 5 tick move, you may not have a big enough move to get a profit out of that. This is our YM trade. This is the ZB chart. You can have a separate setup, different setups on different charts. So in theory, you could trade multiple setups with different instruments. You can't trade 2 setups on the same instrument because they will interfere with each other. You can trade a reversal on the same instrument. For instance, on the YM, I could set up a reversal trade that I might want to trigger after the breakout trade resolves itself and is finished. So you can set up multiple trades on the same instrument, but you have to understand you cannot always trade them simultaneously. If you have 2 separate setups simultaneously trying to trade the same instrument, it can interfere with each setup. What we're doing is I've got a separate setup on bonds, and I've got a separate setup on the YM. 2 charts, a different setup on each, and both of these setups appears in the control panel. Okay? So now in 25 seconds, our brackets are going to show up. Now the YM is pretty volatile, folks. The adjust button allows you to recenter the bracket if you press it before the news has come out, before you get filled. If your orders are on the chart, like right now our orders are on the chart.
Order filled.
Now I didn't need to do anything because
2.43 high yield, 4.65%.
I'll explain what happened here.
4.65%. So the US sells 44 billion in 7-year notes and awards 60.
I'm looking for a little more profit.
Bids at high. Primary dealers
Order filled.
All right, so look.
Direct 16.13% and
just as I was talking, the YM filled and it was a winning trade. And I'll show the video, I'll explain what happened. Bonds, it hit our first target in SIM and it's working. Sorry I didn't trade it. I'm going to move my stop to break even. All right? Plus a tick. And bonds,
seeing some downside in the S&P, a little bit of upside.
Let's see if the bonds will hit the target or if they'll back up and take out of the trade. But it already filled target 1. Okay? It filled target 1.
Order filled.
Now it did pull back, so I would have made approximately just under $100 on bonds, and I made a real $105 on the YM. And that was real money in our cash account. Bonds worked very well today. And I'll show everybody the video so you can see what happened. Now, Scott, did your trade trigger? So if your trade didn't trigger, I'll make a video. I'll make today's trade room video available to you so you can go through it. So I'm really not, I've looked at all your settings. I'll send you that video so that you can compare it to everything that you're doing. I honestly don't know why your trade is not triggering. If you set your time to 0 and put your brackets on and a breakout trade, it should trigger. Maybe you should take a picture of your chart. I'm just wondering if you're positive there is no error in the upper top left of your chart saying that you're not authorized. I'm at an absolute loss as to why your software is not triggering. I still think it has to be time, but if you're setting your time to 0. So hang on, Scott, because I'll go through. Yeah, I did tell him to. Did you uncheck? Did you remember to uncheck your account warnings? Did you remember to uncheck the account warnings? Okay. So if you hang on, I'll go through the settings one more time right after we show the video for everyone. So everybody who traded, make sure that you have disabled your trades now. All right? Make sure your trade's disabled.
U.S. Treasury 7.
Okay, Roz, that's good. Roz made 115 real dollars.
Last up 9.3 basis points at 4.653%.
That when you enable the strategy, the default has been that the account warnings are enabled. And I am taking that out of the new version. That's not going to be in the version anymore because it's really causing more problems than it tried to fix. Sometimes you try to do something and sometimes it just doesn't work. So let me show you this trade. Let me just render the video. Take me 1 minute. Now our next trade room is at 1:30. So I don't know if a few of you, if after the video, you could take a break, but I'm going to try and help Scott. And I'll show the video for everybody streaming on YouTube. So just as a reminder, Scott, that has to be unchecked. Unchecked. Okay, here's our video, just so everyone could see what happened. As I was talking, the YM filled. It filled almost exactly when we put our orders on the chart, which is what we prefer. That's what we want. We don't want to be watching the orders, waiting to get filled. We want to get filled at the exact moment we put our orders on, as close to it as possible. That's the best thing that could happen. So here's today. This is today. And there it is. It filled me. It just barely missed my second target by 1 tick. Missed it by 1 tick. And then it pulled back a bit and made $105. And then bonds had a very decent move, hit the first target. And then they did pull back, so you could have gotten roughly 3-4 ticks on bonds. All right? So let me thank everybody. Thanks everybody on YouTube. Really appreciate your watching. This is the end of our YouTube free stream. So thanks folks for watching on YouTube, and we will be streaming again, I believe, on Friday morning at 8 o'clock. Just remember, the YouTube stream has a slight delay. You really want to be a member if you want to trade live with us. The YouTube streams are for educational purposes so you could see what we do and how we do it. So thanks for watching us on YouTube. We'll see you next time.